Welcome back to the second lecture on communication breakdown. In the previous lecture, we talked about the various types of communication, and we also saw how there can be communication barrier at the source, meaning thereby from the sender's level, which we may call intrapersonal communication barriers. Next to that, we also talked about communication barriers between people, which we may call interpersonal communication barriers. Now, in this lecture, we will be talking about communication barriers in organizations, because majority of time as professionals we spend in organizations, and when we communicate in the organizations, we communicate with a purpose. So, the need of being careful in organization while communicating becomes utmost. Now, what are the various types of communication barriers in organization, and why do these barriers or breakdown or communication roadblocks arise at the workplace? You have already read that every organization has a network of communication, and then it has certain characteristics as we have discussed. You start initially as an employee, and in times to come you move up the ladders and also adopt different roles. So, because of the organizational characteristics also communication barrier arises. Moreover, we have another communication breakdown, which is because of the fear of superior's perception. In the previous lecture, we have talked about perception, and we have said that no two people have the same perception. But when you communicate at the workplace, and since you communicate with people of different levels, people at different posts, so when you are communicating with a senior person, because most of your activities are guided, watched and monitored by him, since he is the leader of your organization, or since he is the head of your particular division in which you are working. So, because of the fear perception, you are not able to communicate. And of course, in many organizations it is seen that not everyone can communicate with everyone, especially in organizations where there is no candid communication. So, these problems arise. People at the lower level, despite the fact that they know certain things, they are not able to communicate only under the weight of the fear of superior's post. Then there are negative attitudes in the organization. An organization, as discussed earlier, is a group of people, and this group of people from different backgrounds, different cultures, different faiths and different states sometimes. So, what happens when people work in the organization and they tend to create groups? Sometimes a particular decision may affect an individual or a particular group. So, naturally you develop a sort of attitude. If things are not going the right way, in your case you develop a negative attitude. Moreover, the manager also sometimes, because of some reasons, may develop a sort of impression about you which may not be true, but then he also tends to develop an attitude or an impression which is negative about you. So these negative attitudes actually destroy the candor in organization, the candid atmosphere in the organization, and you are not able to communicate effectively. And hence, then comes the misunderstood application of media and information overload. Now, how to be aware of these organizational breakdowns and what to do? I mean, it is the status that matters most in organization. And when a person at the top level communicates with a person at the lower level, because the lower level people often do not get the opportunity of communicating with the higher people. Even if they have some new idea, they are, because there is a sort of restrictive environment in many organizations which do not permit you to communicate with your seniors or with your bosses. That is why you will find that if you have to say something or if you have to write something, you have to go, they use the word like proper channel. By this proper channel we mean that there are certain norms you have to follow. Straightway you cannot talk to or you cannot communicate with the person at the top. You have to follow certain norms. You have to go initially to your controlling officer in many organizations where there are different sections, especially in large organizations. So majority of organizations you will find they are having a tall structure where there will be different units, different divisions, different subunits, and every unit will have a chief. So you will have to report, you will have to communicate your grievances to your head, and naturally it will be passed on to the higher ups. On occasions it has been found that there exists a sort of gap between the senior and the junior level employees, and this is actually the reason why grapevine is formulated. And as we said in the earlier section, that grapevine cannot be negative always. It actually works as a sort of purgatory force. I mean, people, they often convey their hidden, their suppressed desires through grapevine, through whispering with their friends, with people who are from the same groups. And this lack of trust, even in larger organizations you will also find, even in larger units also you will find, there is found to be a sort of lack when it comes to trust. This is also because of their positions, and this lack of trust also arises because of the poor communication levels also. No two people, even if they are at the same posts, sometimes they try to avoid communication with their peer groups only because they feel that their poor communication skills will be exposed. But then when we are working in an organization, we have to understand that coordination comes from trust, and when you do not trust a lower level employee, we perhaps cannot aim at productivity. In large organizations, employees create groups and subgroups. They actually do that based on their preference, the preference sometimes of religion, sometimes of faith, sometimes of some other likeliness, sometimes of interest, and these subgroups actually at times become threatening to the organizational channel. In many organizations you will find there are too many transfer stations. What are these transfer stations? you will find that because there is a hierarchy of information flow or communication, as we have said, who should talk to whom. So what happens, you give a message to somebody and that message is passed on to somebody, and again that message will be passed on to somebody, and since we are all humans, we are all individuals, what actually we do is we try to frame the message, and while framing we try to reframe the message, and while reframing what we do is we actually destroy the message. That is why the message sent is not always the message received. Let me give you a very small example. On one occasion, one employee, because he is going on some personal leave or he is going on some personal requirement, so he tells his colleague, see, one of my friends is passing away and I want to meet him, so if the boss comes, please tell him that I will be returning in the late afternoon, and if I do not return, consider me on leave. Now while this colleague met the boss or his head, he said, Mr. X told me that his friend was passing away, so he thought he should actually meet him and should have a discussion before he goes. And finally, and he also said that if he does not return, it should be understood that he was on leave. Finally, when it went to the boss told his secretary, if anyone calls for or if anyone wants Mr. X, tell him that he is no more. Now if you look at this entire piece of information, you will find the choice of words which was made was actually in a way, and since this information passed from one information to other, this actually became distorted. Actually the meaning of pass away is to die, and then since he was in a hurry, he simply wanted to convey that one of his friends was passing this way and he wanted to meet him, and he said one of his friends was passing away and he wanted to meet him, and finally he had also said that if he did not return, it should be understood that he was on leave, and in hurry the boss said that he was no more, meaning thereby the boss also said that perhaps he died. Now this is actually a case of how so many transfer stations actually distort the message, and that is why we say the message sent is not always the message received. On many occasions, when you want to communicate a message, you choose the wrong channel. Nowadays, since you have a variety of channels at your disposal, you actually want to make the maximum use of channels which are available to you and which are at your disposal. This is called media richness. But please do remember that while deciding the media or while deciding the channel, one should also have a sort of sympathy for the person on the other end, meaning thereby looking at the background, age and sex of the other person. So when you decide to give a message through telephone or through electronic mail, please ensure that the other party is having these facilities. On majority of occasions, people who are at the lower level may not be having all the facilities which a person at the higher level enjoys. So, and at times technical and objective messages, these are lean media. I mean, people bother list about some technical pieces of information, and that is why when you are formulating that message, when you are formulating that information, you actually need to be extra cautious and never treat that the other person also has the same knowledge about the subject on which you are talking about. Meaning thereby that if you are talking on a difficult subject, on a technical subject, and you being an expert in that, you are deliberately using the technical jargons without realizing the fact that when it goes outside or when it goes to the other person, it may not be considered in a nice manner. It may create a sort of challenge for the other person to receive and interpret this message. Then at times in organizations, because nowadays we are living in a world where there are organizations, where there are offices in every nook and corner, and on majority of occasions we feel that because of some physical distractions, communication faces a lot of challenge. Proper communication does not take place, either because of the venue. If your office is in a marketplace and you do not have the proper facilities to ensure that silence prevails, naturally people often find it difficult to make use of even the resources that have been provided to them. Then at times the acoustics, they also create a problem. For example, when I am delivering a talk to you, I ensure and I expect that everything goes to you quite successfully. But then this sort of expectation comes to me because I feel the acoustics and the gadgets which have been provided, that they are working quite efficiently. But then there are moments when the voice may not come clearly. There are moments when the voice may come as a muffled noise, and then outside disturbances you can always anticipate. So when you are communicating, these things actually hinder the smooth flow of communication. Moreover, at times you are not able to communicate properly because of the poor lighting facilities, because of the climatic conditions. Suppose you are writing a report, and at the same time when you are discussing the very crucial matter, and suddenly you find that there is an electric cut, naturally you feel embarrassed and all, and this actually leads to a sort of communication failure. Then there are also cases of ethics. When once you are in organization, please see to it that you do not utter something. As we are living in a very small world. As we are living in a global world, everything may go, because it is a digital world where things may go viral, and the problem arises when whatever you have said or whatever has been said by others is being misquoted. So when you are communicating, please see that your messages or others' messages are not misquoted. You often come across situations when you may, if you are asked, you may say, I never did so. Especially you will often find the leaders saying something and the reports coming in a different way, and when asked they say, I never said like that. It was actually a sort of misquoting. So as a careful communicator, and since we are communicating in organization and communication leads to some decision, see to it that we are not misquoting. We are not making far-fetched predictions. At times people make far-fetched predictions, and these actually pass because they are also made informally. They pass from one person to another, and hence it starts appearing as a wildfire that may actually harness, that may actually harm your own image also. So please say to it that you have to understand and ensure a difference between what you should say and for whom you should say. There has been many examples where people have not said that, and then it has actually led to a sort of confusion, and it has often led to a sort of misinterpretation and a sort of miscommunication. Please see to it that you avoid such a situation and create efficient messages which are going to benefit not only you but also the organization, because when you are working in an organization, you have to ensure that your communication is going to be very effective and it is going to be for the welfare of the organization. But then when we are living in such an age where information can be found at every push of the button and communication can be done as fast as it can be, let us see that we do not communicate which actually makes us judgmental. Because if organizations have to thrive today, they have to thrive on the basis of the communication that actually the organization displays. So there are certain ways which can help us overcome these hindrances, and one of the ways is becoming non-judgmental. You should not, or you should never, while communicating, become a judge or say something which can be judgmental. And this can be done with the choice of words that you use. Never pass any statement which is going to destroy your image as well as the image of the organization. Because when you are working for an organization, you are actually trying to give a sort of message to the outside world as to where you belong and what you are. Say to it that while you select words with proper caution, you select words with proper control, and you also see that the word does not have any other meaning and the word can be taken in a different manner. While communicating, say to it that you put yourself in others' shoes, meaning thereby, if you receive this message, if you receive this communication, what will happen? How will you react? What will your reactions? So the need is to be empathetic, need is, and at times people actually start assuming more than what is being said. Never make more assumptions. Sometimes you make more assumptions and then finally you land yourself into trouble. One of the major factors of avoiding communication breakdown or barrier, especially in organization, is please try to be a very good listener. We have already discussed in our lecture on listening what actually is meant by proper listening, what actually is meant by effective listening. If you are communicating with the outside world and especially to the people, because you communicate through different ways and different means, but if you are communicating especially for a desired impact, say to it that you do not make use of too much jargons. Since you will not be communicating with your people only, but you will be communicating with people of other countries, of other cultures. Please see that your cultural bias does not come in and between and destroys communication to a great extent. If you are making use of written communication, say to it that whatever you write has to be understood, and for this we shall be discussing when we discuss in our lecture on writing. We shall discuss how we can make our writing more effective, to the point, more specific, and also we can make use of short sentences and paragraphs so that people on the other side receive the message well. In addition, you should also see that have you been able to, if it is a sort of spoken communication, you are going to have a sort of result out of it, say to it, as we discussed in our lecture on negotiation skills, what is being said, how it is being said, how this non-verbal thing has been taken into consideration. Sometimes you will find people make undue meaning out of your non-verbal behavior if words are not used. Also say to it that you maintain a sort of audience-centered approach, meaning thereby looking at a message from the you point of view. What will happen if you were in place of the receivers, if you were in place of the other party? Also see that the communication environment is very open. As I said, most of the organizations follow a very restrictive environment, but if you compare organizations where there is an open communication channel, where there is an open communication atmosphere, business thrives like anything. Because of the existence of various transfer stations, care has to be taken that you reduce the number of levels. Wherever you feel it is of utmost significance. It is better to communicate directly or allow a direct communication rather than coming by so many channels. When you have communicated, in order to understand the effectiveness of your communication and to see that everything has gone well, please try to facilitate immediate feedback. As I said in the beginning, by taking continuous feedback, you can not only empower yourself in making yourself a better communicator, but also help yourself becoming successful. Also commit to the ethical communication and avoid making judgments, avoid becoming too much extreme when it comes to giving statements and all, and please create effective, efficient and lean messages. Select the most suitable medium. Please see when you are communicating, and if you look at the background of your audience, you will, of course, because when you are formulating your message, it is there that you think of the background of your person. Naturally, when you are giving a talk to a small group of new entrepreneurs or to a newly recruited managers, naturally the words that will be chosen will be with utmost consideration. Moreover, when it is a discussion amongst people at higher levels, naturally you may be more selective, you may be using jargons, but not with those people who have just joined your organization. When we communicate, we perhaps most of the time assume that whatever we say, whatever we do, they are actually true the world over. But this is not a case. I am actually reminded of an incident of how a woman who was waiting at a square, and the woman, while waiting at the square, suddenly saw a person having 2 young children and a small baby. Now, while she was standing there, she could watch. She actually wanted to see the little babe because the babe was very cute. And then she was there waiting continuously, though she was waiting for the bus. But the other person who was having his baby and 2 young children suddenly realized that he was being looked at, and then he said, "Are you waiting for me?" Now this was actually a case of wrong assumption, though in fact what the lady replied had lot of messages. She said, "I also have a small baby at my home, and that is why it reminded me of my own baby." The gist of the entire episode is people often misconstrue messages because they do not understand the assumption of other people, the perception of other people. Now, to put in a word of advice, I am reminded of what a famous American poet said, "I celebrate myself and sing myself, and what I assume you shall assume, for every atom belonging to me as good belongs to you." The meaning is that when you communicate, please see to it that how, if you were a listener, if you were a receiver, how it will affect you. That is why what I assume, you shall assume. Think that if you were in the place of the other person, will you understand the same? If you take a considerate look on what you have written or what you have said, I think you will be in a position to have a better communication, and you will be in a position to avoid the several hindrances that make your communication more abstruse, make your communication more challenges, makes your communication more destructive, and it creates breakdowns. Breakdowns may be there not only in life but in communication, but then we need to overcome these breakdowns, and to overcome these breakdowns we need to be very selective when we are using words. We need to be very considerate when we are looking at the background of the other person. We need to be very careful in using the medium, and also we need to be very careful, keeping into consideration how this will have a reaction. If you take all these things into consideration, you will feel that you will learn more and more day by day by communicating, by taking feedback, and then communicating again, communicating for betterment, communicating for success, communicating for prosperity, and ultimately communicating for satisfaction. I hope if you take all these things into consideration, you will become an effective communicator who will see that no breakdown appears, and if breakdown appears, it also has some solution, it also has some alternative. Thank you very much.